first off, can I just say a round of applause for Matthias, Herman, and Mark, and the entire DPW team. This place is amazing. And I'm so thrilled. Everybody knows that I love DPW, and to really have this kind of impact here in the US, I am really thrilled. Okay, show of hands, how many of you think agentic AI is overhyped? Really? Come on, I know you all do. Okay, there we go. How many of you think it's a passing fad? Some of you, okay. And how many of you think that it is the next blockchain? That is failed technology, overhyped, and so forth. I'm not a blockchain fan. Well, if you're skeptical, would it change your mind if you knew that this technology, agentic AI, dates back to 1991 and actually even further back into the 1980s? You see, 1991, and I hate to say this, but some of you may not have even been born in 1991. I was in college, for the record, and in 1991, that was the year the Soviet Union disbanded. That was the year that Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls won their first championship. And the #1 song was Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and ushering in the age of grunge rock. It was also the year that America, or the United States, took on military expeditions in the Persian Gulf, and we had the first Gulf War, as we call it. And as part of that, they developed a system called DART, Dynamic Analysis Reallocation Tool. And essentially what it was a smart system that optimized soldiers, material, weapons, and figured out all the logistics. And what it was is a series of AI programs that were trained with military intelligence. They had perception, and they made decisions on their own, and they took actions on their own. And in fact, there were clusters of agents working together. Does that sound familiar? Perception, intelligence, making decisions, taking actions. That's what this tool did in 1991. We didn't even really hardly have personal computers in 1991. In fact, there's no screenshot of this. It was probably running in DOS, for those of you that are that old. So this is not new. Now, I do a lot of presentations and I get a lot of questions. Is this real? Is this just hype? And I just got an email this week that asked, hey, I see on LinkedIn all this anti-agent, it doesn't work, hallucination, blah, blah, blah. So I actually went to AI and I found out that everything that's posted, most things that are posted on LinkedIn are trash. I searched agentic AI and Gen AI in LinkedIn, and what came back was nothing short of nonsense. And if you read them, I'm not going to read all of them, but essentially you get strategic sourcing. AI offers to drastically cut cycle times. Okay, so yeah, I could have figured that out. It's going to change contract lifecycle management. Duh. In fact, CLM doesn't exist anymore, but that's a talk for another time. Document and proposal writing, really? That's the best we can come up with? Intelligent sourcing, what is that? This is such fluff. So as a public service announcement, I'm going to implore you, I'm going to beg you, please stop posting about agentic AI on LinkedIn. Those that are doing agentic AI aren't spending time on LinkedIn. They are down the rabbit hole, and I will show you that in a second of how far down the rabbit hole you can go. So just ignore what's on LinkedIn. You have my permission. So my thesis, and this is what I've been proposing to everybody or evangelizing, is that every employee a manager of agents. So I don't care how low in the organization you are, how senior you are, everybody is a manager of agents going forward. And I actually attribute the number of 20. Every agent or every employee should have 20 agents working for them. Now that's an arbitrary number, might be more, might be less, but I'm giving all of you homework. When you come back to DPW New York next year, I want you to show me your 20 agents, even if you draw them on paper. But I think you will find the further we go that this is real and it's achievable by anybody. If I can do it, you can do it, because I'm old. All right, let's just get through the buzzwords. So a bot, it's just something you program and it executes. It's not smart. This is really, think of bots as part of RPA. You have to have some smart trained person to code a bunch of bots. And they execute tasks, but they're not intelligent. An agent, as I said, is intelligent, it perceives, it makes decisions, it takes actions. And it can work together in a multi-agent system, or MAS. That's a group, or oftentimes I'm hearing cluster. So you have a cluster of agents working together on your behalf and supervised by a governor agent. And then MCP, in case you're wondering, is Model Context Protocol. I don't even know what that really means, other than the fact that it's termed the USB-C for connecting models to data sets and other tools. So if you see these terms, that's what they mean. Don't get lost in the jargon. All of this is irrelevant. What we really care about for agentic AI is what are we trying to achieve with it, how are we training it, and what is it that we can do with a group of agents, with your 20 agents. All right, this is probably the most important slide for me, at least, in terms of learning what agentic is, or how the AI memory works. So there's two memories. Long memory, which is the LLMs that have trained themselves on the internet and by basically user input of people going to ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic and asking for poems and jokes and questions. That's generic, and if you only use LLMs, generic LLMs, that's okay, but that's why you get hallucinations. Because ChatGPT and the others, they're built to solve problems for everybody. And of course, that's okay. We don't have to, I'm not criticizing it, but that's long-term memory. That teaches the LLM how to understand language, how to answer questions, how to interact, how to structure output. But short-term memory is the context that we give the agent or the AI that says, hey, I'm a category manager, or I'm a historian. Doesn't matter what discipline, I'm giving it data and I'm giving it instructions that are contextually relevant to what I want. So just to connect the two, when people get on LinkedIn and go, blah, 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 hallucination, blah, 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 it's terrible, it's all hype, it's because they're not actually using enough short-term memory operations, which would be feeding it documents or, again, more contextual relevant prompts. So let's talk about the anatomy of a prompt. I'm not going to go through this in great detail. I just put that here for everybody to have a baseline. Very clearly, you want to set an objective. Who is the role or the persona? What's the context that I want to know? I'm a historian, I'm a category manager, I'm a sourcing manager. What's the format or output style? So you're going to do this analysis, and where are you going to send it? And what are the constraints or tone? Now, we can sit down and write these, or, of course, the more enterprising folks use the AI to generate the prompts, to generate better prompts. And that's okay. But understanding this logic and just understanding that we're trying to set the objective and the role and the context and the output and the tone, that's fundamental to the building agents. None of this is all that complicated. Everybody in this room, including me, and I'm probably the least technical person here, can do this. You just talk in English or whatever your language is. So what's an agent? So with that as a preamble, an agent is simply taking input, feeding the agent input, takes action, and then what's the output? And so a good example is I want this agent to go to SAP, use my credentials with the API, and pull out a list of all the suppliers for a particular category. Now, I know right away some of you are thinking, SAP, that data is terrible. And you're right. So we might technically have another agent that after we extract it, we pass the supplier data for cleansing, enriching, whatever, and bring it back to our core agent, but that's separate. But then we want to take the data, and for all suppliers that have an NPS it should be NPS, and over 3, then we want to take that and create a JSON file. And then we want that JSON file to be sent over to the e-sourcing tool. All of this can be done very simply, and I'm going to show you how simple this can be. And all of this is done by prompting. That's why I talked about what makes a good prompt, and here's that prompt goes into each of these elements, and because we're just telling it what we want it to do. So this is a tool called N8N. It's how I have spent many a weekends, or many of the last few weekends. And in fact, I submitted my slides late, actually a week or 10 days late, because I spent last weekend building these agents to show for today. I'm not going to go into the demo, but essentially this is how simple it is, and this is a visual editor, although I can just do it with language, but this is a great visualization. And you can see on the far left, yes, far left, my right, your left. On the far left is basically takes the input. So I can text it, I can use WhatsApp and send it a message, or I can give it a voice command. And then the AI agent, well, you can see it's connected to OpenAI, and there's simple memory, so it holds what comes back, it translates what I've said, it holds it in memory, and then it passes it off and splits out the data and puts it into Airtable. Those of you that know me, know that I love Airtable. And so essentially, I can just say, hey, I had a meeting with so-and-so, please update the database. And it did this. And I whacked my way through it, and I was proud of myself when I actually made it work. And along the way, I had to get API keys from Airtable and OpenAI and several other places. I think at some point I sold my soul on the dark web to make something work. But I got it working, and I was very proud of myself. So then I thought, well, there's probably templates. And so then I actually took a template with multiple agents that will interrogate my Gmail account and my Google Calendar, and it will do analysis on all of this. So I can have it read my email for me and do whatever I needed to do to set labels, to set replies based on that. And the thing about this is I just downloaded the template and configured it and did some things I'm not even sure I understood. But I now have a working agent to read my Gmail and do things in the Google suite of tools. And eventually this is coming for the enterprise, but right now there's nothing stopping you from doing this yourself. Now, I'm just going to give you a sidebar that it's helpful to have an AI buddy. And there's a fellow by the name of Matt McCarrick somewhere here in the audience. He's my AI buddy. And he's the person that he spent much of the holiday break teaching me about this stuff. And he's the person that I call when I have a breakthrough. So last weekend, he got a lot of text messages from me because I said, oh my God, this is so great. This is what I did. And also when I get stuck, I call him. So find yourself an AI buddy. And it can be anybody, and you're going to do it together. So just to pull this together, now let's build an SRM cluster, and this is something that I'm working on right now and helping clients. So you have your data sources, wherever the data is coming from. We have the tools that we are going to use to process the data. And then we have a series of agents. One does supplier performance, supplier risk. One does supplier segmentation, on and on and on. And then we have a set of governance agents to do practical checking. That we got a graphic designer, we have a data cruncher, and all of these elements work together within a supervisor that manages all of this. And actually, some of these agents could be calls out to other agent clusters, especially around supplier risk. If you can do nothing else, you can do this and just draw it out on paper. There's nothing that's preventing you from doing this. And so my challenge to you is start this journey. I'm begging you to start this journey. One of the tools that I love is NotebookLM from Google. This is a perfect example. It allows you to take a bunch of documents, upload them, and then it's your own private LLM. And it's contextual to this data set. And it's also connected to Gemini's deep research. So now I can pull in deep research and all of my data sets. So this has the advantage, a tool like this has the advantage of the long-term memory, and everything I load into NotebookLM is short-term memory. If you're not using this, I highly recommend it, because the moment you start using this is the moment you realize, oh my God, category management is going to change fundamentally. In fact, I would argue this will replace many of the Microsoft Office tools, because this is so powerful. Again, I am begging you, I'm going to say this again, please start with personal productivity. There is nothing preventing, I'm not going to go through all of these, by the way. There is nothing preventing you from starting. And you're going to have corporate IT, and I don't think we need to bring IT and procurement together. I think we need to kick IT out of the building. But but that's just my opinion, although I am on record as talking about CIOs as being irrelevant. So my point is no matter what's happening, no matter how long it takes your enterprise to roll out an agentic framework, you don't have to wait. You can and should do this on your own. And there's plenty you can do for free for $20 a month. So some red flags and pitfalls. We are going to overcomplicate agents. We're going to go way far overcomplicated. We're going to create some rigid systems. We're going to be over-reliant on one LLM. The cost is going to be through the roof. By the way, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Gemini are not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They're trying to basically build a generation of addicts to AI so that they can charge through the roof, and they will. And I applaud them. Microsoft's done that for decades. So so there are pitfalls. This is not perfect. It's just to say this is what's happening now. And to close out, I want to just say that we are going through the biggest labor transformation since the end of World War II. This is no longer, the workforce is changing dramatically. And the younger generation's reevaluating what work means to them. And if you are over 40 and in a leadership position, you are making decisions about tools that you don't really fully understand. And I don't mean that as a criticism, that's the reality. And just to sort of bring this to light, the baby boomer generation is on its way out of the workforce. And good riddance, get out. Now if we can get them out of politics, that would be great. But Gen X, we have plateaued. We are not going to go any further in the labor market. That's just where we are. Now, these two generations remember encyclopedias, wired phones, a time before computers, a time before the internet. But millennials grew up with ubiquitous computers, with early internet, and so on and so forth. And then Gen Z, who is now growing in the workforce, and both the millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're going to take over the majority of the workforce. And so what happens there is that Gen Z is grown up with AI, even if they haven't known it as a specific thing. So essentially, this is fundamentally different. And so if you show a Gen Z person an SAP interface, you're basically saying that you hate them. Because this doesn't make sense to them. Their world is this. It's AI-infused technology and is really figuring out that it's an audience of one. And so the SAP is one interface for everybody. In an AI world, every interface is different. It's an audience of one, and that's what's missing. That's how I know old technology from new technology. And when I see a lot of startups, and this is the thing that I'm looking for. Is it an audience of one, and is it doing that through agentic means? And to close out, success in the AI era comes down to three things: hard work, creativity, and motivation. Anybody can succeed. The technical barriers are so low. You saw me, the examples, I whacked my way through building agents last weekend. You can do the same. The playing field is leveled in a way that it hasn't been before. So get out there, and I expect you next year to show me your 20 agents. Thank you.